Good day. Welcome to the July plot tour. A bit later than normal, though I think I've been doing them about mid-month, and this month the time just seems to have completely vanished. Though there's been a lot going on. Wow, what a mixed year it is this year. Things that were sort of damaged by the black fly early on are now beginning to really sort of come on and grow. Things that were doing really well, you'll see in a minute, just looking down here, are carrots, which were germinating fabulously and growing really well, were then flattened by Fenella our fox, and then the slugs decided to go in after that and get at them. So that's been a challenge, but the whole year has been a challenge. But one thing that I am noticing is how dry everything is, particularly on the plot next to us, the original plot, and this flower bed here. It just seems as though for some of our beds, the moisture is not being maintained in them, which basically means there's not a lot of moisture retentive material in there. And I think quite a lot of the plots, quite a lot of beds up here were a sort of coir type compost when we put it in originally, and straw and things like that. And I don't know, they're not holding the moisture as well as that compost that we got from Ealing riding stables. So even though the compost that we got from Ealing riding stables was really lacking in nutrients, particularly nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium, which of course you need for growing, the actual water moisture holding propensity for that soil is really good. So even though there's quite a lot of wood in it, when you get below that sort of top layer of wood, and let's call it a mulch layer of wood, the compost underneath is quite moist. So when I look at things like the bean bed and I dig down and plant something into the bean bed, when I go through that wooden layer of about maybe an inch at the top, which is breaking down really well, the compost underneath is really nice and moist, which is great. With our top bed here, particularly the bed where we have some beetroot on the older side of our plot up here, the moisture retentive quality of that soil is pretty poor. So I need to fix that this year. I think I was so engaged in getting this half of the plot sorted in the autumn. Well, actually in the spring, the winter and the spring, not the autumn because we didn't have it then, but in the winter and the spring, this was what I was doing. I had to get this sorted so that we could have growing space. And I concentrated on this so much, I think I left some of the beds up here to just get on with themselves. And you know what? I shouldn't have done that. I should have made sure that they were covered and manured, or at least given a layer. I think I did, but I can't quite remember, of chicken manure pellets and then covered, because the soil structure really is not good for holding water. So that's something that I've now made a note of in my notebook to sort in the coming months and over the winter. But anyway, look, instead of me waffling on, let me take you to the July plot tour. We'll start at the corner as normal. Starting as usual at the corner of the plot. I'm hoping to get this area done around September, October. Yeah, fingers crossed. I'm going to be tidying it though, because it's now getting to me. The pallets over here, I want to get rid of these pallets, and also see how this compost in here is doing. Now that was compost that was in the old pallet bin that had just broken down. The pallet bin had broken down, and the compost was still quite rough, so I put it into that jumbo bag, and we'll be opening that up in the next couple of weeks to see how that's doing. This is sort of the composting area, as you can see. The rows, some of up here, there's sort of quite a bit of new growth, this one here, but we are going to be really encouraging this growth further down here rather than the top growth up here. We're going to be pruning some of these off, not all of them, but some of them. The bindweed, I was going to move the bindweed and that bramble the other day, but then down here I saw a hedgehog, so I've decided to just leave that get on with itself. And where I need to pull the weed out, like down there, I just will do. But yeah, I want to get rid of those 2 pallets. And some of this wood. I'm not too bothered about the decking boards to hold everything down, but I just want that to be a bit tidier. The composting is going fine. Particularly what we're doing is we're giving the Dalek compost bin a real good turn every 3 weeks. And in this one, I'm doing layering of the horse poo and horse straw, the bedding, and our sort of general waste, our house waste. So it'll be interesting to see how that does. Right. This lavender is doing really well. We cut a hole in that vinyl to make sure that the lavender could grow through it. And if you've been watching a week at the plot, you can see this water here, which has collected in the lower areas of the vinyl. There's a frog living in there. So it's sort of generally under this board here in the shade, but yesterday it was quite happily out under the lavender. The lavender is being enjoyed by bees. It's about 8 in the morning and the bees are already there. These rhubarb will be going in to this space, which will be a perennial space. And as I think I've mentioned, we're going to put our perennial kales over there. So this border effectively will be a perennial border, and I'm hoping we'll be able to put a flower border down this end. Right, cosmos. Oh look, that could do with some deadheading there. Can I take it off? Yeah. So the cosmos is beginning to bush out a bit. These are a bit slower, but this bed has been completely changed since you last saw it. The squash in here really wasn't doing. It got eaten by slugs and snails, really sort of just destroyed. So I took those out and I put chicory and cheeky prince that we had spare as spare plants. They have gone in here, and what I've also planted in between is perpetual spinach. Whether these will actually do or not, I'm not sure, because they have gone in pretty late. Anyway, we shall see. Again, this area, let me go to the other side. Strawberries, we got good crops of strawberries this year. I'm hoping for some runners to come off. I think that's going to be a runner there. Hoping for some runners to come off there so that we can propagate. On the far side is celeriac, which is doing pretty well. They are sort of maybe just a bit smaller than golf balls at the moment. That's the root I'm talking about, because this you grow for the root. You can eat the celeriac leaves as well as a celery, but they are quite strong, so you need to make sure you don't use too many. But here we have our rainbow chard. Now this went in 6 weeks ago, And really, it's only started growing in the past week. It was doing nothing for weeks and weeks and has now started growing. So I'm really pleased about that. We have put some in there. I've put some perpetual spinach that we had spare, and also there and there at the ends. But yes, they took a long time to get going. I mean, this one you can see is still just tiny. That's how they were for weeks, but have started growing now. And that one's starting to be eaten. Look, I think that's pigeons, but they don't particularly like this, I find, though they do like our plot neighbours. Moving to the brassica bed. I'm calling it the brassica bed because there's such a mix of brassicas in here now. It was all organised when we originally planted it out, but we've done so much removing plants that weren't growing and putting others in their places that it really is mixed. There's broccoli, there's cauliflower. I think you can see in there a cauliflower head forming. Beautiful leaves on these. And as you know, I was doing an experiment of putting plants out quite early in their life, and I didn't think it was working. But if I come over to this end, these are plants that really weren't doing that well, and I left in, and now they're doing the best of all. So these are broccoli around here, and that one in the middle is a Portuguese cabbage. But even when we have planted, I mean, you know, no rhyme or reason, you can see these two brassicas here. The one on the right went in about maybe 2-3 weeks ago, as did the one on the left. And the one on the left, in fact those two on the left, have been decimated by snails, because it can't have been birds, because nothing can get under this netting. So yeah, a mixed bag, but you know what, they're all brassicas and you can eat all of these leaves, so that's fine. And then we do have here purple sprouting broccoli and Nero di Toscana, which will be going into, I think, the bean bed. I think. Not quite yet. Right, the bean bed. Well, yeah, beans are now getting to the top of the canes. They're doing much better, but were so damaged by black fly this year. Really quite, I mean, horrifically damaged by black fly. And we still have black fly. There are, you can see in there, there are ladybirds around, so fortunately they are eating them. But let's go the other end, and then I'll tell you what they are as we come backwards. Okay, these are Shaz's Scarlet Emperor runner beans from Save Seed, which have done really, really well, and we are harvesting those on a regular basis. We do have Bird de Rockencore all along the edge here, though next year what I will do is put the bean canes further in to give the plants that I plant along here more space. But we're harvesting from them, so that's great. These next ones are Madeira Maroon, which are a wonderful flat French bean, quite waxy, absolutely lovely, have done really well and getting to the top of those poles, which I'm absolutely pleased about. Then next door, this one here is Blue Lake, which I find quite interesting because some have got a white flower on them and some have got a creamy flower on it. I don't know if you can see that. It's got a creamy flower on it. I also think these have got quite big leaves. I mean, if I come over to this one here, look how big that leaf is. I mean, yeah, they're big. Anyway, they are producing. We haven't picked any yet, but they are getting to the top of the canes, which is fantastic. By this time last year, everything was well at the top of the canes. Then moving on to this section, this is our Coco Sophie, which is the climbing Coco de Pampol, which is being grown for the seed rather than the pod. You can see they are sort of producing, but again, you can see black fly in there, possibly. But the black fly, fingers crossed, it's done the damage, and now everything else is sort of growing above it. Have we got any gigantes? I don't think. Oh yes, we have, but tiny ones at the moment. Let's just go round. Look, a couple of gigantes forming there, which is fab. Then next we have Canadian white, which I'm growing for the bean inside rather than the pod. The black fly really got to the bottom of these, and you can see possibly that they've got a huge amount of growth at the bottom, and have started now growing at the top. But the black fly really stunted this growth, and it all sort of collapsed around the bottom of the canes. And along the edge again, we have this time Coco de Pampol, which in this area have been a bit swamped by these sort of falling down. But hey ho. Next, again, Coco de Pampol along the edge. We have a mix in here of the one at the front. These are asparagus bean, which really seem to be doing nothing. And then at the back here, I've planted borlotti, because the asparagus bean was doing nothing. And I thought I'll plant the borlotti behind so it can climb up the canes. And if the asparagus beans do nothing, then at least I'll end up with borlotti. What's happened is, since I put those borlotti in, the asparagus beans seem to have put on a little spurt of growth. I'm not sure if you can see in here. Hey ho. Needs a bit of a weed, this bed. And then more runners, more of Shaz's runners, which are doing really well. Then moving over to our tomatoes. These are all doing pretty well. Tomatoes are forming, just so that you can see the size. That those are Amish paste, and those are forming quite nicely. And they're quite healthy. But what I am finding is that growing them in these bags, which I'm only growing in these bags because we couldn't do this area, this whole area, before we needed to get our tomatoes in. Growing in these grow bags really does mean that you need to water every day. Hey ho. Now I put in at the front, which you can see very yellow, pumpkins. In fact, these are butternut squash. Not really doing much. Those are tomato planters. They should be fine for the butternut squash. But yeah, the outer leaves are really yellow, but some of the inner leaves, if I come over here, seem to be doing a little bit better. They got plenty of moisture in there. So yeah, there's a whole variety of tomatoes in here. We have Crimson Crush at the end. Then we have Marmande. Then we have Roma. A few more Roma over there. and then all the rest are a real mix of Amish paste, red ox heart, millefleur, black Kosovo or Kosovo, black crim, whole variety. None are ripening at the moment, but you know what, they are all doing okay. I'm trying to keep on top of these weeds that are coming through, but maybe I'm not. But I love these. Look, these are the millefleur. And you can see why they're called million flowers, because there's loads of flowers on there. I have no idea what the size will be, but I assume it will be tiny. But yeah, they just need tomato care all the time. That needs to spin around there. Need to keep on top of tomato care. I did these a few days ago. In there I can see another shoot developing, so out that one comes. Some are doing better than others, and I do actually have a list of which are Amish paste save seed, which are Amish paste fresh seed, and which there's one here which is a Amish paste from somebody else's seed. So I will be looking at the end of the year about which ones did do best, which is interesting. I can't remember what this one is at the moment, but it's so lush. It really is. I've let it fork. I've let the crown fork rather than shoots coming up, but I'll go into that another day actually. Right, let's just go through. Yesterday I found 3 further tomato plants which had self-seeded, so I have put those in, and I see there's a hole there, which can only mean that Fenella had a good sniff at them last night. So I'll put my gloves on later and fill in that hole. And I also put these chicory, ornamental chicory. You can actually eat the leaves, but this variety is a bit tough. I put those in yesterday as well because I had them on the bench. The verbascum has gone over now, but yeah, I love that. Let's just go over to the bench. Right, here are our seeds, our germinated seeds of Marvel of 4 Seasons up here, Northern Queen lettuce here, which has only germinated a few there, and chicory. This is the edible variety of chicory. Really odd germination, and you know what? These were sown about 5 weeks ago, and they're just growing really, really slowly. I mean, really slowly. In fact, they're growing so slowly. I was saying to somebody the other day that we've got no successional lettuce. Most of our lettuce is going to seed now. And I was hoping these would be, well up by now. And bless them, they gave me some money to buy some. Well, they pointed me to a place to get organic plug plants, which they have then paid for, which was very sweet of them. Thank you to my fellow plot holder there. And then these are just a variety of different cuttings and seeds and plants. So we've got rhubarb, buddleia. These are our Indian kale plants, which we're keeping. Down here we have more perennial kale. That's a comfrey, a hazel, and then more perennial kale, which are from our cuttings that we did, which are going to be going out to people very shortly. Oh, what else do we have here? Another verbascum. Yeah, so this is sort of our bench of things. So there's an angelica I was given. Things that need to go in but don't need to go in now. Down here, cucumbers, which went in quite late, and nothing is forming on them yet, but flowers are coming. Mint. Right, carrots. These are Autumn King carrots. They germinated incredibly well, and then one day Fenella, our fox, decided to have a roll in here and scuffed up a lot of the soil, and then the slugs came in. So I have re-sown these just yesterday, and fingers crossed. Got dahlias just along here, which always remind me of my Uncle Len, because he used to grow the most amazing prize-winning dahlias. Not that these are prize-winning dahlias, but the memory for me is there. Parsnips doing incredibly well. I actually have had a root around, and they are going down. Nice shape down below there. Oxeye daisy in pots, which need deadheading. And then this was our pea bed. This is now a turnip and beetroot bed. So 4 varieties of beetroot in there. Burpee's Golden, Chioggia. I can't remember the other 2, but they're doing okay. They were transplanted out about 10 days ago, I think. And the turnips are just Snowball, which were sown in modules, as were the beetroot, multi-sown in modules, and planted out, as I say, about sort of 8 to 10 days ago, I think. And a spare celeriac that we had that I popped in there. Our flower bed. Right, lots of spring flowers we've had, and flowers up till really a few weeks ago, but now everything has gone over, so I need to think about that for next year to make sure that we have continuing flowers at this time of year. Many of these things have gone to seed. You can see obviously poppies are going to seed. These have obviously gone to seed. The umbellifers, which is this family of carrot, are going to seed. And of course, I'm just going to let that seed drop. I'm happy for whatever is in here to just drop its seed and self-seed next year. So fingers crossed. It is so dry though. I mean, so dry. Even when we have splatterings of rain, it just seems to get nowhere. Hey ho. The fruit bed, we do have some raspberries forming, which we will be having today, which is fantastic. And I'm really looking forward to sorting out this bed this coming winter, because all of these will be going into this bed. They won't be in these buckets at the end of the day. They will be in the bed. This is the chicory I was mentioning earlier. So our plot neighbours have quite a lot of this self-seeded chicory, and it's just such a beautiful flower. Moving on, I think in our last video, this was Kelly from Kelly's Kitchen Gardens. This was plants from her seeds from the Cheeky Prince. We only have one left, and for some reason it's not doing much. That's in the middle there. So I decided to take everything out, and we're reusing this for our loose d'automno, autumn flowering and autumn harvesting rather, broad beans, which as you can see are doing pretty well. Germination has been high. There's just a few gaps. There's a gap there. There's a gap at the end over here. And there's a gap there. But germination is a gap there, and there's one just coming through the ground there. Germination has been really good on these. So I'm hoping, having grown them from seed, they're going to do better than the plug plants we got last year. Right, let's go round. This is our pond, washing up bowl pond. sorry, not in shot, washing up Old Pond, which actually has got quite a lot of wildlife in there, and there was a frog in there the other day. Bless. Another brassica bed, whole mix of brassicas. We've got kale thousand head, we've got Portuguese cabbage, we've got Brussels sprouts, we've got Red Bull Brussels sprouts, Brussels sprouts. Again, a whole mix, because some things did well and some things didn't. So, oh, I didn't mention down there is our cardoon, and up here is our artichoke. Why do I get those two things mixed up? I was going to dig this one out, but you know what? It balances the garden with the cardoon further down there. So I think what I'm going to do is, if I come in, you can see that there are various stems there. And what I'm going to do is take out these two with a spade later on in the year, when these have fully dried back, and move it further down. So I'm going to split it, which I think will be nice to have a smaller one of these next to that cardoon down there. Or do I leave it? Oh, you see, this is the thing. As soon as you start thinking of something, I mean, I was sure I was going to dig this out and move it down there, but now I'm sure I'm going to leave it here. And then I was sure that I was going to dig some of it out and move it down there. And now I'm not sure whether I should just leave it here. Challenges of being a grower. Oh, look! Oh, it's a cheeky prince seed. Cheeky prince, I can't think of the words. Cheeky prince flower. On the smallest cheeky prince that we have. So this is our cheeky prince bed of our own cheeky prince save seed, and there are some forming. I think if I go in there, you can see in the middle there's one which is forming, though obviously it needs to open and be pollinated before it will actually start growing. And then through there in the middle, I think you can see another very green one. So we do have some forming. I'm really pleased about that, obviously. It's not a great bed, this, nutrition-wise. And it's not a great bed because it's sort of quite dry. But yeah, those are doing okay. At the side here, front rather, I put marjoram. Yeah, happy with that. Right, this is mainly our courgette bed. I come backwards, and I think you can see courgettes are growing in there. This is a yellow courgette called yellow zucchini. We've had quite a good cropping off all of these, apart from that one. That's the first one that we've had. We've had good croppings from these. They went into a bit of an abeyance for maybe the last 10 days, but they seem to be coming back now, which is great. Borlotti. They are... got a frog in my throat. Not literally. They are forming. So obviously these are being grown for the dried bean, though I will actually be harvesting them demi-sec and then freezing them. So look, they are such a beautiful speckled pod. I love borlotti. We love borlotti as well. We do have quite a few sunflowers as well. These are all from Nick, from Nick's Allotment Diary, his sunflower challenge. And look, can you see that bee? It's a sleepy bee. Bless. And more down there. Oh, and what I've decided to do in this area is put another pond. So I'm going to put a pond in here. It will be partly in the sun, partly in the shade. And this is also a great place to put a hedgehog house at the back and some piles of wood and detritus. I may use this tub as another pond. Where that would go, I don't know. Maybe it stays there. But yeah, that's a job for the winter. What I've also realised is that if we have two ponds up here, we don't have a pond on the lower area of the plot. And because there is a frog down there by the lavender, I think we need to have a little pond down there as well. So that's what I'm planning. Right, moving round to what was our onion and elephant garlic bed. I have sown further autumn king in this top area. I have planted out our fennel plugs in this side, and down both of the short sides here and over there, that's parsley plugs that we have put in. And that basically means, if I come up here, our bench is now empty, apart from these are 1 year old cuttings of buddleia. This is our dark purple buddleia, and rosemary. So those were cuttings that I took a year ago, and they're doing well, apart from one which has died. But that's not bad. Right. This is another flower bed, wildflower bed. It's getting going. Gets really, really dry, this one. I suppose the apple tree takes an awful lot of moisture from below here. In fact, I'm going to talk about moisture in a minute. Our Cara potatoes, which have now flowered, and as you can see, there's already seed pods on there, which obviously you must not eat because they're poisonous. This is a member of the nightshade family, so there's more down there. So yes, never eat those. In fact, I would say if you've got young children, particularly, or vulnerable adults, remove them. Portuguese cabbage, doing really well. Hopefully these are going to get to the stage where I can take them off and start harvesting, because these will grow to about 5 foot high. And moving around to what was our garlic bed. These are tomatoes which went in, I think, about 3 weeks ago. Yeah, I think about 3 weeks ago, doing really well. What I am finding is that generally these in the ground, tomatoes in the ground, are looking healthier, greener particularly, than the ones in the grow bags. As I say, we're only using grow bags this year because we weren't able to get into that ground and prepare the bed for tomatoes. But yeah, here we are. Some of these are starting to fruit. They did go in quite a bit later, maybe 3 weeks later than the other tomatoes, but certainly catching up with them. Right, oh, little ragwort here, which is a weed to many people, and this is where the cinnabar caterpillars, the golden or yellow and brown caterpillars, yellow and black caterpillars usually are. I think they've munched and moved off these and turned into the fabulous cinnabar moth, maybe. That red moth, which is just quite incredible. More sunflowers from Nick. Right. These are for the beetroot. We've got Burpees Golden and Crapaudine. I think the soil here is lacking in nutrition. They're taking their time. We're actually harvesting the beetroot leaf now. Some of them are bulking up, which is great, but not many of them. Yeah, It needs a really good water. Again, this was watered yesterday. Excuse me. And look at these. You can see those leaves at the bottom. That ground looks so dry. And it was watered yesterday. We're leaving this to go to seed so that we can save seed from this red lettuce. This is our outrageous lettuce. These are our beetroot, more beetroot. These are Detroit, which are doing well and bulbing up nicely. Then our rocket here has gone to seed. We'll be saving some seed from that as well. And then into our strawberries up here have also finished. And then just going into the poly, we've got another harvest of oregano up there. That's the second one. And here we have further lettuce that is going to seed. I'm going to leave 2 of these in and take the seed from them. These are romaine. And then we have cucumbers, which have been very slow to start producing, but I have noticed just as we came in, there's one there which I'm sure is definitely pollinated and going to grow, as I think will this one here. Other ones further down, which we did have, you see there, have not been pollinated and just dried up. So, let's come around here. Look, see if they're not pollinated, they won't form. So they form the little fruit, then the flower needs to be pollinated. And if the flower isn't pollinated, the fruit just dies off. Same as for squash and in fact many things. So yeah, that's why I'm pretty confident that one. And in fact, there's a few on there. Yeah, they're starting to produce, which is really great. Super. Just carry on a little bit more. Look at that apple tree, though I think that needs water. Yeah, it really does. These are further Cara potatoes, which are main crop potatoes, which again have flowered and are dying back now. And this is a rather ramshackle, it was tidy, but it's now a ramshackle area of early potatoes. So we have Ulster Print, Charlotte and Kestrel in here. And the harvests have been okay. The potatoes have been good. The harvests have been okay. Right. A few things on the benches over there. And I have noticed our fig. Oh, it's dying off now. Our fig had a fig on it. But what I am finding this year is that this area, particularly this top area, is so dry. I don't really, I mean, we slope, so it slopes down. So the end of the allotments, which is sort of before those trees down there, that's a good maybe 3, 4, 5 meters lower than up here. And I'm really finding things are dry this year, needing a lot more water than normal. I mean, these lettuce were watered yesterday and they're looking a bit droopy. I mean, they are going to seed, so they will effectively die off, but it is so dry. Hey ho. But that is our plot tour for July. looking back down here and looking at those beans now and looking at these broad beans coming up here and these tomatoes and how well actually some of these brassicas in here are doing and down there. Yeah, it's a mixed year, but you know what? I'm feeling pretty jolly about things now. It's been such a odd year. I know, do we say that every year? I think we mostly do, but yeah, I really find this year has been odd. Anyway, I will see you again soon for the August plot tour, and which I think will be a bit briefer than this one. And also do watch our videos A Week at the Plot, which shows you what is happening on a weekly basis at the plot. And do, of course, watch our other videos. And Sunday Chat! Do watch Sunday Chat. It's such fun. Right, I'm going to go now. Let you go. See you soon. Bye.